How are you, Harry, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Apart from Spurs, how you doing?
Yeah, so tell me, I'm good, but tell me, from your point of view, you're quite a measured, tactically knowledgeable young man. What is going on at Spurs at the moment? Is it because I've been saying I fear that they're maybe not playing for Ange anymore? Obviously, the injuries are involved as well. But as an example, Harry, I'll start with this actually because I thought James Maddison, when he came on, was pretty piss poor today, to be totally honest. And I don't get the sense from Madders that he is as invested in this project as much as he was in that first 10-game spell last season. Am I being blind? Or, is there a chance that right now, even the Spurs players are like, this isn't working?
Yeah, no, firstly, thank you for the opportunity. No, I do agree with you, in particular on Maddison. I mean, when you're going through the situation we are, and whether fans like it or not, we've got a lot of players unavailable. Whatever you put that down to, I don't think it's a coincidence. For example, all the injuries we get in, all the hamstring injuries we get in, I do think it is training related and system related, a large part of it. We are in an injury crisis, and we need senior established players to step up that are capable of producing your best players ultimately, because we know what Maddison's capable of. He's shown us so many times. He's done it, so many times in his Premier League career for different clubs. And I just feel that he turns up half the time, he gives a big talk before the game, and doesn't follow it up on the pitch. So I think to raise the point of Maddison is absolutely right. And it's just strange that he's been benched for all these games, because with all these players out, we need him, and he's ready to go. So you should have a lot of energy in the tank, because he hasn't played many minutes. That's the thing. And you mentioned with earlier guests as well, like the likes of Bergevall. So it isn't all doom and gloom with Postecoglou. He has got players that have got energy in the tank. But then what I find weird is he's picking Sarr off the bench, who's for me looks absolutely shattered, rather than Bergevall. So there are some questionable decisions like that are being made. But no, I don't know what's going on. But players like Maddison, it just seems really weird. He just can't rediscover that form, and he's just simply not effective.
Yeah, Ed M has just sent an interesting one in. Injuries are not an excuse. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. But anyway, thank you, G. Sean, for yours. But the one I wanted to show actually is this. We broke a Premier League record today. First home team to concede the first goal 15 times in a Premier League game in a calendar year. Now, wow. Harry, I guess, where do we go from here, Harry? Like, in your mind, what is the best case scenario for this season? Is it League Cup or bust?
Again, good questions. I don't know where we go from this. That's the problem. I think it's that bad of result, considering where Wolves were coming into it and the way we played. The fact that, as the earlier guest said, we were dominated in period by Wolves in that second half. It leaves real question marks. So I don't know what the best can be achieved. I think league-wise, it's damage limitation. It's about catching up in January, and obviously the League Cup tie is going to be hard. It's whether in 90 minutes we can produce something special. We're quite close, to that final in the Carabao Cup, but yet so far with doing the opposition.
180 minutes, though, Harry, isn't it?
It's 180 minutes. That's the problem, and that doesn't help us. And we know what we're like. We can be really good, but also we can be really bad. And I think we showed that really bad side at times today, in particular, just our vulnerability. Some will say, of course, that's flexibility. Europa League, it gives me maybe a little bit of a chance that should be one of the better teams in it, but I don't think we'll make that easy to even progress out the group. So I'm not sure. It feels like the season's already petering out before we get to the new year, which is, of course, a real shame. So there's lots of question marks, but this result will just pile pressure on Postecoglou more than ever, and I don't know whether I make it through this week, if I'm totally honest with you.
Yeah, and in the instance, Harry, if he didn't make it through this week, where do you think we're going next?
That's the thing. I think it would be Ryan Mason temporarily. I don't think they have someone lined up at the moment. And that's the problem. And, January transfer window, you want the manager, whoever it may be, to have the whole window, to have their say, because whoever is the manager, this is a massive window either way, because the club isn't where it wants to be. It's not where any of us want it to be. And we need major reinforcements in January, Ange or no Ange. So, we can't be getting to, middle to the end of January and with Ryan Mason in charge and no clear long-term plan. Because I can see it happening, Barnaby, where, a decision isn't made to the end of the month. We lose, for example, in the middle of the month, that period with no games before that Arsenal game. And we bring these players in. The new manager doesn't like them. I can just see it being really predictable. But there are managers out there that are good and I think could be right for these bunch of players. It's whether they want to leave right now because they're doing really well with their clubs. For example, Thomas Frank with Brentford or Iriola with Bournemouth. Do they want to leave and come here? Well, money will be a big incentive, of course, in this, but they're doing really well with their clubs. And I feel like Tottenham is a vicious cycle at the moment. And, it's one that you might want to avoid. It pains me to say it.
Yeah, actually, I think Bobby Andrews has just sent in a really important, a really good comment. He says, Ange is apparently an attacking manager and refuses to change his style of play. Okay, so how does an attacking team not have one shot on target the whole of the second half? The guy is a fraud. Now, I'm going to take out the end bit because obviously Bobby's just a bit angry. I don't know. I don't think he's a fraud. He's a very successful manager. And I personally do think he could be a great Spurs manager. I really do. But the reality now is that we're getting into is I do think things are a bit more nuanced than they were even a few games ago, where actually I think Ange is tweaking it. And we did just try and sit back and hit Wolves kind of on the break, especially in that second half, and try and kind of save their legs because there's so much fatigue in it. But for me, that I think creates problems for Ange as well, because if he's trying something different and that's not working either, then he's running out of excuses. Yeah,
it's hard for him in a way. And I felt that we probably did flex today. I think Wolves were too good for us. I think Ange realised that and just accepted the fact that the players naturally, I think, sat back and we countered and used our attacking strength. I thought Solanke done really well today. But I do feel for him because I think that we will run him into the ground. I don't think he'll get the service. That's the problem. But the issue that Ange creates himself is after the game, he won't accept, that he has flexed in this game, and he'll be quite naive, and it'll be all about his system and philosophy. You can flex in game, but still keep the philosophy. He's so worried about losing that. I think you can still have your philosophy and way of playing, but you adapt to win games because it's results-based business. That's what his job will be, judged on at the end of the year, be judged on right now by Daniel Levy and the board. So it's about getting those results. I think he did flex today, but if he's currently, I think, as we speak, doing his post-match interview, he won't have it that we flex like he wouldn't have it with the set piece issue. I'm pretty sure that he would have gone away and worked on a few things because it looks like we no longer take part in zonal marking and generally a little bit better. Not obviously haven't got the full package and dealt with the problem completely, but a little bit better from set pieces. Of course, not today, but he won't accept that. That's the problem. He creates a lot of these problems, Barnaby, for himself, and I think he gets a lot of unnecessary criticism, but he does create problems for himself and stubbornness, which was Antonio Conte's downfall in the end.
Harry, is there any chance at all that Daniel Levy is just saying to himself, I'm going to give him the whole season come what may, and hope that by magic, me doing this different thing that I've never tried before will result in silverware and an Arteta-like, grabbing a career from the depths of what looked like for Arteta, him going to be sacked, and maybe the similar thing could happen with Ange?
That's what I hope will happen. And I keep telling myself I'm still like yourself, Barnaby. I'm not Ange out at all. I believe in being patient. I don't think appointing a sixth manager in 6 years is the right thing to do. I don't think, a lot of people think Ange, sacked tonight, bring in a manager all rosy and, all of a sudden we're going to get top four, we're going to win these trophies. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be painful and go back to square one. So an ideal situation, we do stick with Ange. But I think Levy will review it a game-by-game basis. He won't like the fact that we're now 14 points behind Nottingham Forest, in second. He won't like that. That will really turn his stomach at night. And that's the reality. And, as fans, maybe we don't necessarily think about that. I don't look at the table too much. I look at, how we're playing and results. And ultimately, you mentioned there, it's not all down to injuries because it's been an awful calendar year. And I think that's the reality. The stats aren't good, whatever way you look at it. And even in the last 9, obviously 2 wins. But I think the bigger picture is important. Like, out of a possible, I think it's something like 141 points. We've only got 64, for example. So, the bigger picture is that's, not good enough. And like 30 points for the last 78 available. So it does go a little bit beyond injuries. It does come back to Ange create the problems for himself. But this game will leave question marks bigger than ever over his future. I don't think the weekend's game against Newcastle affects his job drastically because
it does if we get absolutely pumped, Harry, and we might get pumped.
Of course, that's where it does, but we go into it with not a lot of expectation. So we come out of it losing 1-0. I don't think his job situation's going to change. But today, the reality is we should be winning this game. We didn't, and we got turned over in periods in that second half. So not good at all, and only a few positives from individuals to take out of it, but there's plenty of negatives too.
Harry, mate, thanks for being a part of the show today. Really appreciate it. I'll speak to you after the next one, I hope.
Thank you. All the best. Happy New Year.
We'll be right back.